Pasha Paroh, YNS7. Thank you for tuning. So, are you ready for, a lot of people talking about how busy they are, doing A, B, C, and D for their family and all this stuff. Are you preparing them for the second American Revolution? If you want to label it as the second, as if there hadn't been others potentially for entertainment purposes. Today we're going to look at briefly Article 10 of the Constitution. We're going to briefly look at how Nigeria went through their or are going through their banning of cash. We're just going to take a glimpse of it. We'll talk about millionaires, more millionaires than you think are actually living paycheck to paycheck. And all this is connected. I'm going to show you where we're going with this. Then I want to take you to what is $1 million now compared to, let's say, 100 years ago. You're going to be surprised at how the trickery is rammed down your throat. We'll look at the average 401ks per age group. We're going to cover the circular flow model just briefly, because what I want to really get into is the national economic and product accounts. You've seen this on my channel before, YNS7. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for the notification so you can know. And if even with that, just follow up, because check the channel regularly, because content like this, they don't really want you to see. As much as they want you to see people falling down the stairs and making fools of themselves so that the world can think America's dumb. Right? That's the purpose of that. What I want to get into is going to be the PNAS Wealth and Redistribution findings, which is PNAS, okay? So for all you quick-witted people out there. And we'll connect it all. So let's take a look at where we want to start. We're going to start here. Article 10, briefly. I just want to go over this with you. For those who do not know already, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or mark, depending on how you want to say it, and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit. See, that's why we're not going to go into it, but your dollar is not anything of value. It's a note of debt, not credit. Like, you actually are just stacking up debt wherever you have your dollars. So anyway, it's a debt note. It's a drug. They took the energy, they extracted it, gave you a piece of paper, and most of society is addicted to it, will do anything to get it. Look down on people who don't have as many pieces of paper that are 3 cents each. No real value. But if you don't have it, it'll affect your relationship with most people, because they are addicted to a drug that they don't know is a drug or an addiction. They don't even know that the whole thing that they believe in is fake. So you kind of have a difficult time when you reach a certain point, because ultimately you're dealing with fake people that don't know they're fake. I mean, you can say that some people are being fake, but it's a difference between being fake and not knowing that you are fake because you're a product of an illusion. That's really what's going on. And a lot of society is becoming aware of the illusion and increasingly aware of the distaste and discomfort they have for themselves in success of their ignorance and support of the illusion. And that's going to come to a head at some point. But to continue with section 10, make anything but gold or silver coin a tender in payment of debts, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts. What I wanted to point out here is make anything but gold and or silver coin a tender in payment of debts. Okay, a lot of stuff is said there, like I pointed out, with the emit bills of credit. That's why you only got bills of debt. And Charlie think he has money. There's songs about and it's all a lie, but they don't know it's a lie. So they believe that they are something that they are not, which encourages some of society to want to emulate, which perpetuates the problem instead of providing society a solution. Partly because so many are addicted to the problem that they think the solution is a problem. So sad. Now, HJR 192 in 1933 took all of the gold out of circulation. You weren't allowed to have gold under the penalty of facing 10 years in jail. This was when they took money out of circulation in the jurisdiction of the United States Corporation. That is how they destroyed the power of the people at that time. So they confiscated all of the people's power in doing this for entertainment purposes. Research for yourself. And history is known to have said to repeat itself because people don't study antiquity to know how to derail the cycle of history. They just trapped in the illusion, little hamsters on the wheel, making fun of the people who offer them a true future and freedom. Supposedly 1.1% of the population in the United States jurisdiction are millionaires. And see, many of them 100 years ago, your parents told them, don't trust the banks. Don't believe in the fiat currencies. They would keep their money and their cash at the time in various places. Like many of you, your mattress, your shoe boxes buried at a certain XY coordinate on the map, longitude and latitude, in 7 trash bags, saran wrap, pepper to get the dogs off of it. take a look at this though. Because ultimately, if you wanted to, at that point, you could go and retrieve your stash of cash, wherever it might be, however it might have been stashed, and you could actually go and spend it or convert it into goods and services or experiences. You have to look at this from the vantage point of the recirculation of HJR 192. I saw a post earlier today that said something along the lines of, basically how no matter how bad it is, it may not be what you want, but make the best of it. And it's statements like that I think keeps perpetuates oppression. Oh nah, man, no matter how much they squeeze from you, just find a way to feel good about it. Right? It's okay. And tomorrow they'll squeeze a little more and you'll say the same thing. You know what? It's not what you want, but just make the best of it. When in reality, what we want is the best for us and others. So it kind of talks you out of getting what's best, what you want, and allowing someone else to have what's best for them at your expense, which is how the nation is being squeezed due to programming of thoughts like that in the community. Now let's take a look at this. Because you got your cash, you think you're better. Well, look at this. There's two parts I want to cover here. One, we'll look at this article from December of last year, per their calendar, that says Nigeria bans ATM cash withdrawals over $225 a week to force use of CBDC. So you thought you were better than someone. You're making $160,000 a year, which will give you a little bit more of a weekly budget, maybe, to spend on items than maybe someone making $30,000 a year, right? Well, now you don't matter that you make $160K per this Nigeria situation. If we use that as a reference, they set the limit at $225 cash, so you can't go to the ATM no more and pull out $5,000. But maybe if you get your social credit score up high enough, they'll give you that access if you kiss enough ass. Right? Remember, we looked at that at the other video. They're going to give certain perks to people who suck the most dick. So Nigeria bans ATM cash withdrawals over $225 a week to force use of CBDC. All right. We don't got to spend a lot of time on this. You can actually Google this, find this article, and read it at your leisure. But basically, Nigeria, if we just cover this first part here, it'll put it in perspective for you. Nigeria has drastically reduced the amount of cash individuals and businesses can withdraw as it attempts to push a cashless Nigeria policy and increase the use of the Naira, if that's how you say it, Nigeria's central bank digital currency. And we talked about in a prior video how making the cash harder to get helps drive up its value because it'll be less of it in circulation. Eventually, $1 will be worth $1 million because it might be the only dollar left on the planet. Right? We'll get to that. The Central Bank of Nigeria issued the directive to financial businesses in a December 6th circular, noting that individuals and businesses would now be limited to withdrawing $45 per day and $225 per week from ATMs. Individuals and businesses will also be limited to withdrawing $225 and $1,125 respectively at banks per week. So you can't even go to the bank to get more. Like, it's just going to be, you only can have $225 cash. Now think about, so with individuals, excuse me, let me go back a little bit. And respectively at banks per week, with individuals hit with a 5% fee and businesses with a 10% fee for amounts above those limits. Okay, so if you want your money or your currency, now you're gonna get hit with 5% fee to get your, they're gonna, like, the ATM fee is now gonna be the bank fee. Right? The ATM fee that you're used to paying for at the ATM, and you'd be like, fuck it, I don't want to pay this. By the time the ATM charged me $4.95 and then the bank charged me $3.75, I almost paid $10. I only wanted to get 20 out. Now you're not gonna be able to get the cash from the ATM, right? You're gonna get $225. I'm not saying this is is the case, and we're using Nigeria as an example here, okay? For people that just came in. Appreciate you all. Here's what we're talking about today. So $225 a week. And if you want to go anything above that, in order to get the cash, you're not gonna be able to get it from the ATMs. So you're gonna have to go to the bank. And then if you go to the bank, there's gonna be a 5% fee for individuals and a 10% fee for businesses. And again, this is not me telling you this is what's gonna happen. I'm showing you the example because this is how easily it could be rolled out tomorrow, especially once the Fed now system gets in place, etc. in what you call the United States of America. All right. What's up? Peace, fam. Devar. Appreciate you. So with that being said, think about things that you use cash for during the week. Is it less than $225? You know what I mean? Like, some of y'all smoke more bud than $225 a week. Now you're gonna have to get like a fee to get your tree. Or you're gonna have to showcase that transaction in the system. And I mean, maybe you don't smoke, maybe you do whatever you do, but look at what you spend cash a week and look at how that could be restricted. Okay, so getting back to this, individuals and businesses, we said $225 max for individuals, $11.25 for businesses respectively, 5% fee for individuals on anything over the $225 a week, 10% fee for the business. Now look at your business cash flow. Wanting to keep petty cash on hand, made a deposit, need to get a withdrawal, something comes up, your car dealership, you want to buy a car cash, now you got to go pull out 30 grand, you're going to pay $3,000 in damn penalty fee for wanting to pull out cash to go buy the car so that you can sell. So now when you go to buy a car as a consumer, that $30,000 car is now going to be 35 change because they're going to have to get that 3,000 back that they lost for the transaction just to buy it, to be able to sell it to you. We're going to get to these domino effects. I got some things to go over here with you. Get your popcorn, roll up, get your drink, whatever it is you want to do, but stick with me for a minute. Probably be about 45 minutes, an hour. The maximum cash withdrawals via point of sale terminals is also capped. All right, so we get the picture there. Okay, now what I want to do next is I want to go over this right here. Give me a second. This article might shock some of you because this article showcases how I seen a little snippet on one of them little short reels of, I forget the group that was talking about it, but somebody was mentioning that 70% of the millionaires nowadays are living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm the type of person that when I hear something that's intriguing, I go do some research on it, and I said I need to go look that up. And there's plenty of articles that talk about it and around it. I picked this one to share with you today because it basically covered a little bit more information. All right, so here's where it is. It's the CISION PR Newswire, right? And this is from April 4th, 2022. I don't mind sharing my sources. I'm not the type of person that's going to learn something from you and then go and pretend like I came up with the idea or I haven't had this magical thought. No, we need to be able to share our resources, because if it's an article like this, I like sharing it with you so that you can save the video, screenshot this, go look it up later in your free time, if it's next week or whatever. That's how we need to communicate with each other in the community to make sure we have sustainability. It does no good for us to just have one person that's knowing about this. All they gotta do is get rid of the one person. Or if it's your buddy or somebody you know that showed you something, then give them credit, because it reinforces their value in the community for other people to now around you that otherwise wouldn't know them, to be able to support and get their information to support their communities, because they're going to be in different places also. Don't go giving reference to McDonald's or somebody, some name somebody know, because you didn't want to say who you got the idea from. Okay? That's what's going to help strengthen and make a sustainable community, among other things. So let's look at this real quick. So 50% of Americans who earn more than $100,000 a year now live paycheck to paycheck as of April 22, per this report, which we know how statistics go, but it has some real value in looking at the situation. I remember years ago, I used to tell people, like, I live check to check. And they would be looking at me like, oh, you broke. And they didn't understand that, well, if you got, to me, let me put it like this. I mean, I put it to them like this. If you got your own bills, like, I'm not talking about y'all that are in relationships with someone and you don't like the other person, but y'all only together because it makes your rent cheaper. It makes you able to go out to Red Lobster twice a week and have butter cheddar biscuits and stun on Facebook, but you can't stand the person, so you keep them so that you can keep up your addiction to Red Lobster biscuits. No, we're not talking about that. If you got your own bills, you living by yourself or even with a family, and you're trying to start something, you got to put your money and invest into what you're starting. You got to put in money to get gear. You got gear, like whatever you're doing for your business. You might got to market it and promote. You got to do a lot of other shit. Okay. So people that ain't doing shit, they can sit around and say they putting up half their paycheck. And then I'm going to show you in a moment how that's stupid to begin with. Because basically, long story short, is the dollar keeps falling in value. So you put up $100 today. By the time you go get it out thinking you big boss to spend it, it's only going to buy you $88 worth of stuff. And then apparently now they're going to tax you 5% additional if it's over your $225 a week quota, hypothetically. So by the time you go to get it, you might only be able to buy $70 worth of stuff, even though you put up $100. So it's better to put money into yourself in some way, shape, or form, instead of sitting around with a bunch of fake ass currency thinking you the shit and better than someone else that's investing in themselves and the community. Shout out to Just Staying Directional. I showed you Davari, man. They got a great team. Check out their content on their page, Just Staying Directional. Bringing up the next generation for us. All right, let's get back to this. 67% of Americans living in cities live paycheck to paycheck, regardless of income. Here's the map. It talks more about this. Look it up at your leisure, okay? I want to move on. Why is this important? I'm switching screens. Give me a moment. You know, I'm getting used to this new system here. All right. This is why it's important. Because they talk to you about, oh, there's more millionaires than ever now, et cetera, this, et cetera, that, right? And before we move on, you know, if you got anything you want to add, go ahead and throw the comments. We can check them out. Questions, ask your questions. We can review it as a group. All right. So what it is they want you to believe in this thing called a millionaire and $1 million. They want you to feel like the average person can achieve it if you just do enough of whatever. Now, if we look here, this red line is what $1 million used to be. Now, this graph is going to go from 1884 to roughly 1988. Okay. So, of course, there's a gap between 1988 and today. So it's probably down at zero right now. But the reason why there appears to be more millionaires is because $1 million don't buy you what it used to buy you. So if you go back to 1848, $1 million in today was worth almost $25 million back then, as we know it today. So that means if you had $1 million today, purchasing power, what you envision you can buy, you could buy 25 times that in 1848 for the equivalent of $1 million back then. Now they taught us all, oh, it's inflation, right? Oh, it's inflation. Prices are going up. Things cost more. But they're teaching you that so that you don't question the fact that really what they're doing is destroying the value of what was originally money, which was originally the American dollar. Because if we make what you have to spend as collateral or compensation or trade worth less, then you have to work more to get the same amount of stuff. So in 1848, you could $1 million, you would have basically what we know today as almost $25 million. And there at the time, they give a number of 50, millionaires at the time. That's the blue bars. So the blue bars is the number of millionaires. The red line is how much is $1 million worth compared to today. And as you can see, it started off at all, roughly, what's that, $23 million for every million you had today. You had 23 million. There was only 50 millionaires. So now they say, oh, there's, in 1988, there's 1.5 million millionaires. But $1 million at that time is 1/25 of what it would have bought you back then. So basically, all the millionaires today, right? If we divide with my calculator, hold on. Do this math real quick. If we divide $1 million by 25, you can do this on your own, pull your phone out, whatever. But if we divide $1 million by 25, that means that today's millionaire really has the same purchasing power as someone with $40,000 in 1848. So if you only have $40,000 in 1848, you were then today's millionaire today. So basically, think about how many people you know or could think of that make the number $40,000 or more a year today, and all of those would have been the millionaires of the day back then. To show you how weak the currency is in value and purchasing power. So everybody today that you know making 40,000 or more would be a millionaire. That's how much they've eroded your ability to purchase. So when they say, oh, it went from 50 to 1.5 million millionaires, that's foolish. It's a misrepresentation of economic success, as you can see. So what are we doing in our communities? What are we sacrificing for this illusion of $40,000 a year in reality? 40,000 real dollars per 1848. How much of your quality of life, time, family relationships, how much of your creativity suffers? How much art don't you put out because you got to go to work? Okay. So what I want to do next is briefly look at this report here. In this report, we're not going to spend a lot of time on. Just briefly, it shows you per, what's the date on this? This is from Empower, or the currency, April 28th of this year. The average 401k balance by age. Now, all these millionaire talks, right? They're really only worth $40,000. You know what I mean? So when you see that next person walking around talking about they got $1 million in the bank, they got their chain, they this, they balling, they really $40,000. That's not to insult whatever they think they achieved. It's just to put it in reality for you what the illusion is. Because if we stop fighting each other, like instead of killing that man to take his chain, or putting a gun to his head to take his chain because you think it's worth $1 million, we need to just demand that everything go back to what it was or be free. Then you wouldn't have to feel the jealousy, envy, anger, whatever that he got a $1 million chain, because you could go get yours too. That's how dumb we are. We'd rather kill the man next door instead of fight the real enemy. And then people celebrate that shit because they ignorant, ultimately. So anyway, without going through the introduction here on this page, here go the breakdown. The average 401k balances for 25 to 30 year olds is 16. Let's just round it off to 16 grand. 30 to 35 is 33 grand. 35 to 40, they're looking at about 60,000 on average in their 401k. 40 to 45, be lucky if they got 90. 45 to 50 got 123 change. 50 to 55, 161 change. 55 to 60, they if they at 200, they doing good. 60 to 65, you at retirement age, and the average 401k, is 198,000. So $200,000 once you hitting that getting to retirement. 65 to 70, you see it starts to go down. They starting to use it a little bit. 185. So you got $200,000, which in 1848, that number would give you about $4 million of the day's purchasing power, $4 or $5 million of the day's purchasing power. But instead, you got 200,000 due to manipulation. Now, what is all this? Why is all this important? Why did you give us this backstory, Pasha? All right, that's a good question. I gave you the backstory because, hold on, I clicked the wrong button. Because this is what we call, or this is what they named, circular flow model. All right. And then we're going to start connecting these dots now. See the little picture over here? It basically tells you that they only look at it as, depending on the the source of information, they'll call the businesses and or producers, they'll label this the firm, right? And then you have household. So here in this visual, they say businesses, but where I learned it at first, they use the term firm, and they say that's the business and or producers, which is why when you go to my page on Facebook, for example, Pasha Paroh, throw it in Google, everything pops up. You'll see I switched everything over to either songwriter or producer, because Americans are supposed to produce, and they've turned us into the, for those in the United States, are consumers in mindset by nature, which is how all this kind of transpires. All right. But what's going on is everything's basically linked to the business / firm / producer producing, and the exchange back and forth between the household. So the household is going to get its income in this model by going to work for the firms. They'll get currency, and then they'll be able to spend the currency to buy the goods and services from the firms that their household needs. It kind of sounds like a rewrite of slavery, right? I'm going to supply you everything you need, but you must work for me, right? We'll give you a shelter, despite how good or bad you think it is. We'll put clothes on your back, and we'll give you just enough to eat to make it. Now, if you happen to be trying to be one of those firms, producers, or businesses on the side yourself and grow up to be the millionaires and billionaires making $40,000 plus a year in reality, then you are now going to be another on that same thing. You're going to be an inner circle where your business is going to also be doing business with the firms, right? And then to get your resources, and then sell your services or products either back to the firms or to the households. But it's still just that two-way street of exchange of the currency. So if we go back to the statement earlier about the millionaires increasingly living paycheck to paycheck, you think, oh man, that's putting stress on them, or you might say, oh, that's what they get, or whatever comes out your mouth. But guess who's gonna be the direct shit rolls downhill when they start having the problems that we have on the lower levels, managing their cash flow and bills. You saw this disruption during the quote unquote quarantine situations when they took away the need to pay rent for a while. They suspended that, and the effect it had on the so-called property owners, the problems it caused because none of their tenants on go to picture New York, you had a 150 tenant building and only 5 people there were paying rent for 2 years, fucked up your money flow. Properties got fucked up because they couldn't pay the workers, buy parts couldn't come in because the companies who were making the parts for the toilet to be fixed weren't making them because the employees stopped coming to work. It was a domino effect. So if the millionaires that were making $40,000 a year in reality start to have fucking problems, what percentage of the businesses in our quote unquote loosely not even close to being sustainable community model that we have today are getting ready to have fucking issues that's going to affect your household in tons of ways, because it's only a two-way street. The model doesn't show household to household transaction. Think about that for a moment. Because they were laughing at Pasha 5 years ago when he was like, look, this is what we need to do as a community. Huh? No, get out of here. We don't need you. We're going to get grants from the government because the government loves us. Well, now you know what love is. Right? So think about that. And while we're thinking about that, what I got next here for you, here's a better picture of it. All right. And then we'll move on and we'll get into the PNAS findings, which is really what I want you to take a look at. Because I know some people had questions on what I mean when I say we need to get rid of currency, period, and make everything free. And I'm going to show you the value of that, not from my reports, not from somebody say, oh, that's his opinion or whatever. That's Pasha's opinion. No, I'm going to show you the data. I'm going to show you the scientists that, whatever, invested millions and billions of dollars in the research, because they're going to use it against you. And I'm going to show you how the same research actually supports what I'm saying for you. For those that like truth instead of acceptance in society. So here, let's take a look at this real quick. Which one is it? It is this one. So this one gives you just a little better glimpse of the circle. And I like this one. I brought this one up I pulled it aside to show you, because it actually includes the government too, which you can see is in the center. And it shows you the markets. And I like that because it shows you the place, like I said, if you were starting your business or these smaller subsidiary firms of the firms, like how you got one company that's owned by another company that's owned by another company. And then that's how you get like one company owns like 5 companies own all of the nation's food supply. You know what I mean? That type of shit. But it shows you that here's the back and forth exchange. The government, so-called, is in the middle getting their cut. The financial market is there, basically, in bed with the government. So you got the markets for goods and services. It's got a little overseas sector. And then you got the market for factors of production. All right. So like I said, you're going to be making stuff as a producer, or you're going to be retail. That's really all there is in life. You're either producing or you're retail. So all these people talking about certain things, you got to look at them. If they ain't made nothing in their life and all they getting is retail money, they can't talk to you about production, because they're your fucking customers. They don't know what it takes to produce shit. All right. But these firms are at the tippy top on the other side, and it's the household. So this is transfer of wealth back and forth, and in the middle, the government and financial markets are getting their pinch of everything as it moves around. All right. So that kind of gives you a better oversight on that. Here's a good picture for you that shows a more simplistic shot of it without all the in between. So like I said, here, if you look here at this, make sure I'm showing you this. Okay. Yeah. So if you look here, the firms are delivering wages, rent, and dividends to the households, and then the households are giving them consumer expenditure. All right. So you can come check this out in the future on your favorite Wikipedia. All right. So what happens is you get to this thing called the national income and products accounts, which is what's going to tie us into PNAS. All right. Report that I'm going to show you. So national income and products report, if we look at Wikipedia, is basically the national income and product accounts report, or are part of the national accounts of the United States. They are produced by the Bureau of Economic Analysis of the Department of Commerce, and they are one of the main sources of data on general economic activity in the quote-unquote United States. So feel free to come back to glorify Wikipedia and read up on that more. We're going to go right to the article I want to get for you today to show you what it is. And give me a second, I'll pull that up for you. First of all, let's go here so you can see the site, because I've done a video on this before, or not on this before, but from their research before. National Academy of Sciences. All right. And if you come here, gives you some little history, PNAS. So when you hear me say PNAS, I'm just giving you the acronyms. And if you come here to publications, you can go here, click here, and all these stuff is available for you to look at. Now, what I want to show you today in particular, oh shit, I ain't have it on the screen for you. Here you go. Look, I'll go back over this one quick time. So, National Academy of Sciences, right? Boom, you can go in nasonline.org. So when you hear me say PNAS, I'm referring to this, and that's the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. All right, so they do a lot of this high-end research on all this stuff to get it right, because they're going to use it either against you or against you. You know what I mean? That's what they want to know, what the facts are for. So if we read it, we can know what they know, because it's public information. So there's really no true excuse for us to be sitting around ignorant. You know, when we can tell you how many points LeBron has in his career, we should be able to kind of know what the government's plan for our community is as well, because one of them's going to affect your life, one of them's not, right? So I think we should worry about what affects our life more, but that's just me. Everybody's addicted to what they're addicted to. Some people are wanting to make life possible tomorrow. Some people are just enjoying the ride to hell. Okay, so let's go. All right, let me pull this up here for you, and we'll get started on the interesting part. Because Pasha, why do you say they should get rid of currency altogether? I'm going to show you. So if we check this out, right, this is the PNAS article from November, recent actually, 2022. Okay, it was received back in June of 22 and accepted in September, and then published in November of last year. The title and focus of this is Wealth Redistribution Promotes Happiness. And for those that have been following me for a while, or with me on the channel for a while, you hear me say you cannot have, if you go back to the Constitution, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. I'm telling you, mathematically, equationally, not emotionally, not illusion based, but you cannot have life, equality, you know, because they got these diversity programs, and they want to pretend like you're all equal and shit. Fuck that. Look, you can't have equality on life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and have currency system. You can't do it. You can't do it. It's impossible, because they're always going to be able to say why this person should be able to have more than the next person, which means just because of your circumstance at the moment, if you have a dream, Martin Luther King, Michael Luther King, whichever one you want to call him, you're not entitled to invest in your dream the same way the cocksucker over here, right? Because they sucked more dick than you, licked more ass, ate more groceries. They have access to be able to go do their dream. Right? They can go get the grant. They can go get the loan because they sucked enough dick, right? Your business, your idea got to sit with you and die or struggle or wait 25 years for you to get in a position to do it, because you didn't. All right? So, I know that's a rough rendition of it. Sugarcoat it how you like. You'll see it's the fucking truth. So you can't have equality in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because one person is going to get a 1% interest rate. The other person is going to get a 29% interest rate. One person is going to be able to get qualified for $1 million loan, 40 grand. The other person is going to struggle to get $1,000 credit card. Why? Because somebody tells you what you can and cannot have access to. And then they go justify why. Well, we think that if, you did not do this, then you could have a dip. Yeah, you see the bullshit? All right, so let's get into this real quick. Because they tell you the information that you need to know in this to make it all make sense, but they don't tell you the way I just told you, what you really should be asking for. All right, so the significance here is it's going to say, we took advantage of this unique experiment. Of course they took advantage, in which anonymous donors gave $10,000 to each of 200 recipients in 7 countries. By comparing cash recipients with a control group that did not receive, they say money, but we'll say currency, which you get it, whatever you want to call it. This pre-registered experiment provides casual evidence that cash transfers substantially increase happiness across a diverse global sample. These gains were greatest for recipients who had the least. Those in lower income countries gain 3 times more happiness than those in higher income countries. Excuse me. Our data provide the clearest evidence to date that private citizens can improve net global happiness through voluntary redistribution to those with less. And the abstract is going to basically say the same thing, but it gives some numbers here for you. So I'm going to go over that too. How much happiness could be gained if the world's wealth were redistributed more equally? And it says, despite decades of research investigating the relationship between money and happiness, no experimental work has qualified this effect. They're going to slide that in there for you to throw you off the case. Put the pepper down for the dogs, right? For people across the global economic spectrum, we estimate the total gain in happiness generated when a pair of high net worth donors redistributed $2 million of their wealth in $10,000 cash transfers to 200 people. Our pre-registered analysis offered casual evidence that cash transfers substantially increase happiness among economically diverse individuals around the world. Recipients in lower income countries exhibited happiness gains 3 times larger than those in higher income countries. Still, the cash provided detectable benefits for people with household incomes of up to $123,000 US. Now, go back to that millionaire number that we looked up before, that in 1848 or whatever day it was, $1 million today was really only $40,000 back then. So this means that a $10,000 infusion in your life right now gave detectable results, increase in happiness for people that basically are making the equivalent of $3 million a year in today's money. For all the quote unquote millionaire bullshit translations to hide the fact that the currency's fucked up. Now, you making 25 grand a year. These motherfuckers are still excited making 123,000 to get 10 G's. We showed you that the percentage of the people that make over 100,000 that still living check to check. So if $10,000 produced up to 3 times the happiness and the quality of life feeling, now you see why Pasha may be the first person you heard advocating to do away with the currency completely and just make everything free. They lied to you in plain sight. They call it a free market, but everything costs you something. If everything becomes free, especially with the rise of automation, where everything is racing to a 0 point to produce, if everything becomes free, or once everything becomes free, you'll be able to pursue your dreams, and creativity and innovation in the nation will increase. So the move to me, for entertainment purposes, to switch from cold hard cash, which originally was metal, to the future of money, is a direct attack on your constitutional rights and freedoms, and a direct resistance and control mechanism to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The question is, how do you feel about that? And when you look at your neighbor that's going to try to talk you into going along with the program, how you feel about them? Because you already know how they're going to feel about you when you go against it. They are the AI. People are worried about AI taking over. Those people already are AI. They were AI before you were ever even concerned AI. The ones calling the cops because you didn't have a mask on at Walmart. The ones telling you need to be a US citizen instead of an American. Those were the first AI. RoboCops. So, if you got cash stashed, soon you may need to be treating it like contraband in the 80s. And all these songs and all these videos about how much money you got, how much cash you got, it's gonna be the new Rico. Y'all think y'all snitching for drug? No, this is gonna be the new snitching. We seen you showing you got $20 million for the last 10 years, doing $500 million a show. Because they got, I should have pulled this up for you, but what's coming next, maybe I'll just do a video on it, is they call it the reverse ATM. And this is gonna be the magic. I'll close with this and we'll get up out of here. I appreciate y'all. The magic is now, yeah, you used to be able to hide the money in the bed, the vault, the burial site, right? And you can pull it out when you want to and go spend it. Well, they're gonna switch over to stores and say we don't accept cash anymore. And they're gonna have this thing called a reverse ATM, which is already being distributed now, where you're gonna be able to, you're gonna go into the mall, and at the beginning of the mall, they're gonna have this reverse ATM where if you got cash and want to spend it, you have to put it into the machine, and the machine is gonna give you a card, or maybe put it on a card that you have. But it's the ones now, they're gonna give you like a prepaid like debit card. You're gonna put the cash in, and they're gonna spit you out a card. But maybe the technology will upgrade to where you already have a card and can just add it to that. We'll see. So if you got cash, you're gonna have to put it through the machine, the reverse ATM, digitize it, get it on the card to go shop at the mall. My question is, how long before they start to track who you are putting the cash into the machine? So now all your mattress money is no longer hidden money, unaccounted for money. All your 33-degree longitude, 75-degree latitude, whatever money is no longer burial money. It's going to become accounted for if you want to bring it into circulation. Now there will be the black market of it all, so to speak. There still will be the street trade, so to speak, but that's why you hear me saying, that's why you see the money on the table and the lights all around, because when the cash becomes banned in the United States jurisdiction, you're going to have to treat cash itself like contraband in the 80s. You wondered why they got society conditioned to accept people getting pulled over by police in Nevada, and they search your car and find 30 grand cash that they confiscated. You got to ask yourself why they had to massage that into your brain, that was somehow okay to take the money, the currency, the paper that you worked for maybe 20 years and just had to be travel across country because you had to be doing 10 miles over the speed limit, and they found you riding with 30 grand. You might have been a legitimate citizen, a legitimate civilian, and they took your 30 grand. You got to understand, for entertainment purposes, why they would want to kind of massage that into your brain, that was somehow okay. I'm Pasha Paroh. It's YNet 7. Thank you for tuning.